us the broader context. Imtiaz, thank you. Well, let's get more now on the Russian perspective on this and go to our correspondent Natasha Gonaim in Moscow. Natasha, have we had much of a statement from the Russians about what may have gone on in Ankara?
Julie, we may not know exactly who is responsible, but as far as the Russian government is concerned, this is a terrorist attack. It has vowed to, quote, punish the murderers. And slowly but surely, leaders here in Russia are coming out and saying that if this was an attempt to send a message to Russia, if this was an attempt to derail relations between Russia and Turkey, it will not. Now, a little bit about the ambassador who was killed, Andrei Karlov. He was 62. He had been the ambassador to Turkey since July of 2013, and the condolences have been coming in. We're told that the foreign minister here was at a reception. When he received word, he abruptly left. We're also told that President Putin is standing by waiting for the latest report. Julie, this comes as tomorrow, Tuesday, the Russian, Turkish, and Iranian foreign and defense ministers were slated to meet here in Moscow, and on the agenda was the war in Syria. And we can expect, if the meeting does go forward as planned, that this would be a topic of conversation. You know, we were speaking to an analyst earlier today, Julie, and one of the things I had asked the analyst is if there were any negative consequences to Russia's involvement in the Syrian war. I mentioned the plane shot down over Egypt last year, in which many Russians were killed. And the analyst said that he didn't think that anything would sort of derail Russia's mission in Syria that would affect the affect the Russians' impressions of the Syrian role, of the Russians' role in the war. He said that most Russians have come to the conclusion that terrorist attacks are inevitable. And again, we don't know that the killing of the ambassador was a terrorist attack, but if it were, according to the analyst, that it may not change really much on the ground here in Russia in terms of public opinion, and certainly might not change much in terms of the Russian commitment to supporting President Assad and committing to helping win the war there for him in Syria.
Natasha, we're hearing, in fact, out of Turkey that the man accused of shooting Andrei Karlov was, in fact, a police officer. It was thought to start with that actually he was posing as a police officer, but the suggestion seems to be now that he was, in fact, a police officer. Natasha, I'm just wondering, could what's happened potentially derail this thaw, this warming up in relations that we've seen between the two countries by way of trying to get to some solution for the problems in Syria?
You know, again, speaking to an analyst today, there's a bigger picture here for Russia. I think one has to keep in mind that Russia got involved in the Syrian war and in doing so has become very seeped into what's happening in the region in terms of the Middle East. And as this analyst told us, that's a goal of Russia, to be a player, if you will. And we know that Russia has a base in Syria and is looking to have a long-term presence there militarily. Again, I thought it was pretty prescient what the analyst told us today when I was asking if he thought there could be possibly any negative long-term consequences, and I did cite that attack on that plane in Egypt. And so, again, I believe, according to the analysts that we spoke to, and even people we spoke to on the street who believe that the bigger picture here, as far as what they've come to believe and what the government has told them here, is that Putin and the military are fighting terrorists in Syria, and people here really seem to believe that and support President Putin.
Natasha Gonaim there, live from Moscow. Natasha, for your input, thank you.